I was just thinking the other day that recently I really haven't heard much from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and maybe I should have knocked on some wood because now she's back with a vengeance, doing exactly what we always expect from her, and that is acting in the most disgusting way, humiliating our country and our Congress, and she did so when confronted by a reporter over Donald Trump's gigantic national security scandal, a question that should be asked of every Republican defending Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Mike Waltz. And what did Marjorie Taylor Greene do? She started attacking and threatening this reporter. It was a disgusting display. We're going to get into all of it, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into Marjorie Taylor Greene, I want a little bit of context on what she was asked. Unfortunately, by listening to another bleach blonde we don't like on this show, and that's Caroline Leavitt right here.
Caroline, so why aren't launch times on a mission strike classified?
Again, I would defer you to the Secretary of Defense's statement he put out this morning. There were various reasons he listed, things that were not included in that messaging thread that were not classified. And again, going back to the American public, do you trust the Secretary of Defense, who was nominated for this role, voted by the United States Senate into this role, who has served in combat, honorably served our nation in uniform? Or do you trust Jeffrey Goldberg, who is a registered Democrat and an anti-Trump sensationalist reporter? This president and this national security team are putting our national security and the American people first. We are restoring American strength around the world, and the results of this operation speak for themselves.
Putting aside Jeffrey Goldberg, though, just for, for American service members who are going to have to carry out these missions in the future, what I guess the message that's coming from the response to all this that we're hearing is that, nothing sensitive happened. And I guess the logical conclusion of that is that if these messages had gone out publicly prior to the launch, that wouldn't have been a risk to service members. I don't know that they're comfortable with that. So can you explain, had these messages been published, would the plans have moved forward? Would the launch have still taken off?
What I can tell you is that the President, as the Commander-in-Chief of our United States Armed Forces, and Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is an incredible man and a warfighter himself, take the lives of our American service members with the utmost responsibility, and they would never do anything intentionally to put their lives at risk. And again, they are working hard on that every single day, and we are protecting our service members while also restoring peace throughout this globe. It's something the previous administration has not done. And I would just add one more point. We are not going to be lectured about national security and American troops by Democrats and the mainstream media who turned the other cheek when the Biden administration, because of their incompetence, left 13 service members dead in Afghanistan, and not a single person in the previous administration was held accountable for that botched withdrawal. Joe Biden said, in fact, it was a great operation. That is despicable. It's unacceptable to this president and this Secretary of Defense. The National Security Advisor has taken responsibility for this inadvertent number being added to the messaging thread. But above all, we take the lives of our troops, safety, security, prosperity around the globe with the utmost seriousness.
Now, the reporter asking those questions of Caroline Leavitt, giving some pretty great pushback, in my opinion, actually works for Fox, someone that Donald Trump has actually recently criticized because they are doing a pretty decent job sometimes pushing back and confronting Caroline Leavitt. But she refused to answer what is at the heart of all of this. How is our national security not already compromised to such an extent that we need to get rid, we need to fire, we need to see the resignation of a Mike Waltz, of a Pete Hegseth, of a Tulsi Gabbard? These people have compromised our trust in our military and our national security. They need to go. What does Caroline Leavitt want to say? She wants to say that it's all a hoax that perpetuated by the liberal media. Yeah, I don't think the liberal media was the one putting together a signal group, as much as they want to say that. And clearly Marjorie Taylor Greene is also doing the best she can to try to distract and make up some lie. And it's the reason she couldn't even take a question from the media without freaking out. Take a look.
Yep. Anybody else?
Should the Defence Secretary...
What country are you? Wait, what country are you from?
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay,
And you no. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about...
by migrants. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Do you care about
not-
American lives
nope.
being put at risk?
You know what? I don't
about
care. I
service
don't.
members fighting for your country?
I don't care about
and
your
vice
fake news.
president
Do you have a
and your
relevant
defense
question?
secretary?
Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you.
I'm an American, and I'd like to hear your answer to what she's asking.
I'm not answering her question
right,
because
I'll
I
ask
don't care about her network. If you would like to ask, I can
Do you
answer.
have any concerns whatsoever about the complete disregard of operational security from the top level of this administration?
You want to know about complete disregard about operational security? You should talk about the Biden administration and how they ripped our borders open to terrorist, cartel, child sex trafficking, human trafficking, and drug trafficking across our borders for 4 years. The Trump administration is doing a great job, and I stand by their statements.
So you have
I
no-
stand
no
by their
comment
statements.
whatsoever about
My comment to you is I'm
incompetence.
thankful to President Trump that he is leading us out of wars, that he's ending the war in Ukraine, where American lives could have been killed if Joe Biden was still president today, whether he liked it or not. We're talking about NPR and PBS today. We're talking about fake news that was funded with federal funding from American taxpayers. That's what this is about today, not journalists from the UK that should care about
A
their own.
journalist is being vilified for exposing failings.
This is just gross. Like, this is really just, it's gross. It is, like, it debases the halls of Congress that she is there. What country are you from? You should get out of ours? Like, what is happening at this point? The past couple of days have been so shocking and disturbing, especially the reaction that we're seeing from Republicans. These China hawks, these national security hawks, these but Hillary's emails, but her emails people who suddenly don't care about our security, about the troops who are now worried about whether they have competent leadership at the Department of Defense, whether Pete Hegseth is putting a couple back and maybe not necessarily super locked in all the time. You know, it was the worry that in case of an emergency, Pete Hegseth might be compromised. But now, we know it's all the time he's compromised and he can't do his job. It's not just in the middle of a night he might get a call and can't respond to it. In the middle of a day, he can't figure out how to send a text correctly. That's where we are. That is where we are. We need resignations. We need investigations. We need to learn more. We need to hold these people accountable. It's exactly what was said by Congressman Jason Crow, calling out Trump and Hegseth right here.
On the Signal app that was included in that advisory, right?
What we've done is we've put out an advisory on how to use the Signal app and other encrypted applications, because we do encourage our employees and their families to use encrypted.
Because there's risk to that app.
There are.
Okay. General Cruz, DOD also issued a warning about vulnerabilities to the Signal app recently, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Director Gabbard, you were on this Signal text chain in question, correct?
Yes.
As was Mr. Witkoff, the administration's lead negotiator with the Russians, correct?
Yes.
And at the time, Mr. Witkoff was actually in Russia during this chat discussion, was he not?
I was not aware of that.
Was he on his personal phone at the time?
I don't know.
Well, it's my understanding that he was indeed in Russia. Director Gabbard, you were also traveling during this discussion, correct?
Yes.
And where were you?
I was traveling through the Asia-Pacific region. I don't recall which country I was in at that time.
You don't remember the country?
I'd have to go back and look at the schedule.
Director Gabbard, I want to direct your attention again to the text chain where it says, just confirmed with CENTCOM, we are a go for mission launch. Does that indicate to you that there is about to be a military operation?
Yes.
Director Gabbard, earlier in this hearing, We heard about the DoD's classification standards. I want to now turn my attention to your classification standards. You're the Director of National Intelligence. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence classification guide says, quote, information providing indication or advance warning that the U.S. or its allies are preparing for an attack, end quote, is to be classified as top secret. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Director Gabbard, have the Houthis indicated an ability to shoot down American aircraft?
Yes.
They have in fact done so, haven't they?
Yes.
Including MQ-9 Reapers, haven't they?
That's correct.
And that was one of the systems used in the attack recently that's the subject of this discussion, is it not?
Correct.
General Cruz, are you familiar with this system?
I'm not wearing my glasses at the moment, but...
Well, I'll help you out. This is an SA-3 anti-aircraft system.
Correct.
Are you familiar with this next system?
I am.
What is it?
I'm going to have to ask you.
It's
to
an
help me.
SA-6.
I'm going to guess that
This
it
is also an advanced anti-aircraft system, is it not?
It is. It was used widely in the Balkans in the 90s. Correct.
And the Houthis also have this system, don't they?
They certainly do.
And they've employed it against our aircraft, have they not?
They have attempted to. Correct.
I spent my life in service to this country. I deployed 3 times to combat in service to this nation. I learned in that time in service that responsibility is core to leadership. You accept responsibility when things go wrong. You admit mistakes. You set the standard from the very top. It is completely outrageous to me that administration officials come before us today with impunity, no acceptance of responsibility, excuse after excuse after excuse, while we send our men and women downrange to do incredibly difficult, incredibly dangerous things on our behalf.
Again, it is still shocking that we have gotten to this point and that the Republican response has been what it is. Maybe it's not surprising. What do we always say? Never surprised. We're always disgusted. I just feel so sad for the men and women bravely serving our country who don't know if they can trust anything and anyone anymore. How would you feel putting your life on the line, not knowing if the very strategic plan put in place to carry out a mission and keep you safe while doing it was accidentally texted to one of our enemies? Scary stuff, sad stuff that we have to call out. We're going to on this show. And if you want to support that and independent media, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.